Welcome to the 23 Minutes in Hell podcast, where author and speaker Bill Wiest and his wife Annette address the many questions and concerns that we all have about the topic of hell and eternity. Bill and Annette believe the subject of hell shouldn't grip us with fear, but instead should inspire us to invest the time we have left on earth wisely. Tune in for today's enlightening broadcast.
Thank you for joining us. Today we are answering the question, do people have a body in hell? Well, I certainly did. My body appeared the same as the one I have now, except there was no blood or water in it. Now, Leviticus 17:11 states, "The life of the flesh is in the blood." Well, there is no life in hell, so there is no blood. Zechariah 9:11 says, "Thy prisoners out of the pit where there is no water." Now, Revelation 21:6 states that water represents life. So again, there is no life in hell, so there is no water. You know, the spirit body I had was able to endure suffering that would have caused immediate death to my current physical body. So the spirit body a person is equipped with in hell has different limitations and endurance capabilities. But I need to point out that I do not know if the body I had in my vision was the same as someone's body in hell. I was there in my spirit body. 1 Corinthians 15:44 mentions a natural body and a spirit body. So my spirit body felt similar to the body I have here on the earth. But it can be different because I was traveling there in a vision. Just like Paul and John traveled to heaven in their vision and so forth. In Ezekiel chapter 8, he was picked up by his hair and carried from Babylon to Jerusalem in a vision. He was told to eat. He experienced the sweetness of the food in his stomach. He wept. He conversed. My point is, in your spirit body, you can experience the same things that you would in your physical body. It's just as real. But the point is, I don't know if the spirit body that I traveled there in is the same as the body a person is equipped with in hell. I don't know. It seemed similar, but I just want to make that point.
Yeah, that makes sense. Plus, you were there as a Christian experiencing this in a vision. You were not someone condemned to hell.
Right.
So
exactly.
They might have a body fitted for destruction, fitted for hell.
Right, exactly.
So Bill, did you have your memory?
Yes, I had my memory. I had all my faculties. They seemed to work. I could think, reason, and remember. My emotions were still there. And although my strength was almost non-existent, as Isaiah 14:9 and 10 and Psalms 88:4 state, my physical senses were acute. I could see, hear, touch, smell, and taste. I had my memory. Now, I knew I would never see anyone ever again. That thought alone is tormenting. I missed life itself. I had some very short-lived glimpses of my life on earth. You see, you're in torment there, so you don't have time to dwell on all the good things. You're in absolute terror every moment, but these short glimpses. And, to see things of life such as greenery, trees, flowers, blue sky, sunlight, or feeling a breeze, and just having strength to even walk was so longed for and missed. And now it was a thing of the past. In hell, all was dead, dry, colorless, and barren. I couldn't bear the loud roaring of hell and the horrifying screams. I didn't want to endure that. It was horrifying. The thought of those decaying demons tormenting me, that was unthinkable. Or the foul stench. It was so nauseating to the point of vomiting. There were maggots, snakes, demon-like spires, enormous creatures that resembled reptiles. These were all terrifying and hideous to look at. Now, being alone and in the dark, that was more than enough to endure. Just that. The thirst was unbearable. Just a drop of water would have been precious, like Luke 16 described. The rich man wanted a drop of water. And knowing there was no finality with your loved ones and never having time with you, my wife, I'd never see you again. That thought alone, and never being able to say goodbye, having no finality, that thought alone is really tormenting to live with for all eternity. And I understood there was absolutely no hope, no chance of escape. People have no idea what awaits them if they don't know Jesus.
Oh, that is so true, Bill. How horrifying. You know, and it's interesting the things you mentioned, glimpses you thought about, or just things we take for granted on the earth, like
Right.
a nice breeze or sunlight, blue sky. You know, all these things we take for granted, but we know because God is good, all that goodness and all his goodness is given to us here
Right.
while we're on the earth to enjoy.
Right. Psalms 33:5 says the earth is full of the goodness of the Lord. But if people reject him and they end up in hell, there is no goodness. These things we think are just automatic, they're not. They're all from God. James 1:17 says, every good and perfect gift comes down from above, from the Father of lights. So there is no good thing in hell. And like I pointed out, to have no finality with your family, you can never say goodbye to them, to not see you again. And you don't know that I still exist, that I'm down deep in the earth. Death does not mean cease to exist. Death means separation from God. You still exist. And to have no finality, to never hold you or see you or any family member again, that is really tormenting for a person to endure.
Yeah, I can imagine that would be. That's so horrible, really beyond comprehension.
It is.
And, let's take a look then, Bill, and see what does the Bible have to say about the body.
There's a few scriptures.
Proverbs 1:12 says, "Let us swallow them up alive like Sheol, and whole like those who go down into the pit."
Right. And the word Sheol is the Hebrew word for the current hell.
So that's stating swallow them up alive. There's a body involved there.
Right.
And Matthew 10:28, you quote this often. It says, "Fear him who is able to destroy both soul and body in hell." And Luke 12:4 and 5 says the same thing.
Right. And the word destroy does not mean annihilate, like some say. The word annihilate is the word ekmedenesis. And the word used here is the word apolisei, and it means to be delivered up to eternal ruination, according to Thayer's Greek lexicon. So destroy does not mean annihilate. You still exist. Your body, we're made in God's image. We're eternal beings. So a person exists in heaven or hell for all eternity.
That's a good point.
Right.
And also, of course, Luke 16:24, the rich man in hell asked Abraham to have Lazarus come and dip the tip of his finger in water and cool my tongue, he said, for I am tormented in this flame.
Right.
So we can see from this story that the man had a tongue. He thirsted. He had eyes, a mouth in which he spoke. He could think. And when you read on, it says he remembered his family and he didn't want them to come there.
Right.
In addition, he recognized Abraham and Lazarus, so they must have had bodies to be seen and recognizable. And this is speaking of the current hell or Hades, which is the Greek word, the current location of hell.
That's right. And this Luke 16 is not a parable. That's a true story, because there's no parable has a name mentioned it, and this has three: Abraham, Lazarus, and Moses. And number two, Jesus said in verse 25 and 29, he said, and Abraham said to the rich man. He was quoting Abraham as saying. So if it was a parable, then Jesus would have been lying, because Abraham wouldn't have said that.
Good point.
But he is quoting Abraham as saying, so that is a true story. And Ezekiel 32:21 through 29 says, the strong among the mighty shall speak to him out of the midst of hell with them that go down into the pit. So this whole chapter is talking about the people in hell. And they speak. You can see they're speaking out of the midst of hell. And Isaiah 14:9 and 10 says the same, that those in hell could speak, and they experience weakness. So, again, a body that it's describing. Currently at our death, we have a spirit body, and we will not receive our glorified immortal physical bodies until the rapture of the church.
Yes, that's true. And most believers who have ever lived will receive their glorified bodies at the same time as we who are alive at the rapture. There may be those who arose with Jesus in Matthew 27:52 who already received their new glorified bodies, as they possibly, being the first fruits to be presented to the Father by Jesus.
Right. So they could be the first ones with their
glorified bodies. That's what some scholars and ministers teach.
Right. But our bodies, when raptured, will be similar to the body Jesus had at his resurrection. Now, he could appear and disappear. He could walk through walls. He ate. He was handled. He had flesh and bone. And he actually traveled at the speed of thought. And these verses verify those points. Just quickly, Luke 24, verse 3 and verse 31, verse 41 through 43, and John 20:19, and John 20:27, 1 Corinthians 15:51 through 54, Revelation 19:7 through 9, and Revelation 22:2.
And here are some more verses which I think are great that emphasize that. Philippians 3:21 says, "Who will transform our lowly body that it may be conformed to his glorious body."
There you go.
And 1 John 3:2 says, "Beloved, now we are the children of God. We know that when he is revealed, we shall be like him."
Oh, that's good.
I love that. We'll be like him. 1 Corinthians 15:49, "And as we have borne the image of the man of dust, we shall also bear the image of the heavenly man."
That's clear.
Again, we'll be like Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
And 1 Corinthians 15:51 through 54 says, "Behold, I tell you a mystery. We shall not all sleep, but we shall all be changed. In a moment, in the twinkling of an eye, at the last trumpet. For the trumpet will sound, and the dead will be raised incorruptible, and we shall be changed. For this corruptible must put on incorruption, and this mortal must put on immortality."
Boy, that's good. That's the rapture of the church right there. That's when we receive our new glorified heavenly bodies. You know, Romans 8:23 says, "We ourselves groan within ourselves, eagerly waiting for the adoption, the redemption of our body." Then Job 19:26, this is in the Old Testament, he said, "And after my skin is destroyed, this I know, that in my flesh I shall see God." So he's saying we'll have a fleshly body.
Yeah, that's a great verse for
Right.
that.
Yeah, and notice he said, in his flesh. The body we will receive as Christians will be similar to Jesus's, which has flesh and bones.
Yes, and I think a lot of us will be happy to shed our mortal bodies, right? It was
Right.
kind of like in your vision, though. You said when you were hovering above the earth and coming back into your body, maybe share what you felt like the body was equivalent to on earth here.
Right, I could see my body lying on the floor in this vision when I was outside of my body. And it looked so strange to look at it. I was like, that's not the real me. The real me was the spirit man. But the body looked like something like, say, your car. You know, it's a vehicle to get you around in life, but it's not you. The same as this fleshly body is a vehicle to get us around in this life. But the real you is on the inside and will live forever, your spirit man. But it will be given a new glorified body at that time of the rapture.
Yeah, that will be wonderful.
That's right.
You know, but in hell, or actually Hades, a person has a spirit body, as it says in Luke 16. But it's interesting, it still requires water. They can feel the fire, they can speak, they have eyes to lift, they have a tongue, and sadly, they endure torment.
Right.
You know, therefore, we can conclude a spirit body in hell has similar attributes and desires as our physical body here on earth.
That's true. It does. You know, when we receive our new body, there will be no more pain or sickness or death, as Revelation 21:4 states. Now we look forward to Christ's return and our new heavenly bodies.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed today's podcast, please be sure to subscribe, rate this program, and share it on social media outlets. To stay in touch with us and learn more about this ministry, consider checking out our resources at soulchoiceministries.org.